Right. Hello again, everybody out there in internet land. If you are sticking with us on this new stream, I'm just going to give you a little update on what's happening. We are currently on hold, hopefully very temporarily, as our judges review footage from the previous heat. So where the sun is at the minute, which is pretty much directly overhead, it is casting a sharp light on the ocean. There's huge glare, which makes making the distinction between the different coloured rash vests in each heat really tricky. And there's a little bit of, we think, potentially a mix-up in the previous heat. And so in the interests of fairness and making sure we get the right decision, the judges have are now reviewing the footage from the previous heat just to double check that everything is correct and accurate. And as soon as that is completed, we will be going back into the action. So please don't go anywhere. We'll be back very
second stream for the afternoon, so you have successfully found us now on British Cup 2022, day 1 p.m. and we're still on hold for a little while we unravel the excitement that occurred in that last heat. You can see a view of the lineup there. Rather challenging conditions for spotters and judges to be able to be sure about who exactly rode each wave, so we're just on hold to work out the glare, reposition the spotters, and to be sure that we know what happened at the end of that last heat, because we had a four-way exchange with all surfers riding, very makeable scores for everybody involved, and we just got to be absolutely sure that we got the right colours and everything. So they're reviewing our video, they're reviewing videos taken by the teams. We'll get a result for you for that heat as soon as possible. So I'm joined for a little chat now as we wait to come back off hold with Gwen Spurlock from British Surfing. So Gwen, welcome very much to the booth, which you will have already noticed is considerably warmer than it is outside.
I can see you're in a t-shirt, and now the long sleeve top is seeming like a bad choice to be sat here in.
Do you know, I started the day with thermals on, and about an hour and a half ago I had to run out to go and get rid of them. It was just coming up on me quickly. It was hard work, and I had a black top underneath my white t-shirt. A New Orleans Saints top actually underneath my white t-shirt, because they're playing in London tomorrow. Do you know that?
No, I didn't know.
Yeah.
Is that the NFL?
NFL London?
Oh, cool.
Have you ever been to that?
No. But I am aware of American football. I used to live in the States, so that was quite a big thing.
And was it the Carolinas?
Yeah, I used to live in South Carolina.
South Carolina.
It was so that would be the Panthers, I believe.
Carolina Panthers.
But then my dad was born in Louisiana, so I don't know actually.
New Orleans Saints.
Would that be?
And they're in the same division too.
No way.
Yeah, Carolina Panthers. They're a controversial team this year because they've signed Baker Mayfield, a quarterback, and he's like a bit of a sort of, he's like your classic jock villain in an American high school drama.
Oh, really?
And they've signed him, yeah. But it's the Saints that are in London tomorrow against the Minnesota Vikings from up north.
Oh, brill! I think it's good to have more and different sports come into the country.
Oh, do you know what I reckon? You guys in British Surfing, you should call it like a fact-finding trip and go and visit the NFL and watch and see how they put it together, because in terms of the way that they can package a sports event, you know, the event, what's on the field, the connection between that and the media, and the way that it results in elite performance is an incredible thing to see.
It's an entertainment, isn't it? It's like a concert almost.
Yeah.
So they pack like sport, music, commercials, enterprise. It's all in one.
Yeah, they do, and that's a really good point that you mentioned there about it being entertainment, and then underpinning it, this idea of elite sports. And that's now, Gwen, where you're in the mix as far as British surfing goes. So you're working now with do I call it Team GB or do I call it British surfing? It's sort of a combination of the both, isn't it?
Yeah, that's actually a really good question, because when we were away in California just for the ISA World Games, I know a lot of the actual surfers refer to us as like Team GB, but we are called British Surfing.
British
so
surfing,
that's
right.
our official title. As what our federation is called.
And your title within that network. So they recently announced that Joel Gray is going to be the head coach.
Yeah, so he's called, I believe, the Performance Pathway Lead.
Oh, nice.
I believe.
Yeah.
So correct me if I'm wrong. He'll maybe be listening to this and he'll be texting me now.
Yeah.
Being like, no, Gwen, it wasn't the right thing. But I'm pretty sure that's what he's called. And then I am called the Development Pathway Lead.
Right.
So there's a bit of differentiation between those two roles. They're quite broad.
So your work feeds Joel's work. So you would start the your job then is more to do with the wider part of that talent pyramid. Am I right then? So surfers would come under your radar before they'd come under Joel's radar.
To be honest, I would say that's a pretty good assumption. Yeah. It's looking like my role is going to be loosely based and connected with the home nations, whereas Joel's is more predominantly based with that top tier.
Right.
And then we're just going to try and make sure that we like synchronize both of those two different groups of individuals, or there may be definitely crossovers and stuff.
That's a lot of travel for you to do then.
I would say it's probably a lot more for Joel.
Right.
Yeah, so Joel's role is going to be taking him and the additional staff and whoever ends up being involved in this whole movement going forward to different events across the world, being like the European Surf Championships, the ISA World Games, potentially some QS events around Europe, and then wider training camps that would support all of those.
Yeah. And are we going to go down that road then? Because we spoke, myself, Mark Vaughan, and I think it was Emily Williams. We spoke to Llewellyn Whitaker just over a year ago after Leon Glatzer had qualified for the Olympics, and we did a podcast with him where Llewellyn was telling us about the way that the German federation, they're called Wahlenreiter something or whatever they called it, had hired Llewellyn to essentially work with any German surfer who had a chance at Olympic qualification, and that had sent Lou to WQS contests with German surfers, and so that is now something that British surfing is thinking of doing. So British surfers will travel to QS contests supported by British surfing.
So at the moment that's not confirmed.
Right.
We haven't said conclusively that we will be supporting QS surfers in relation to British surfing and the funding acquired. However, it's looking like there'll definitely be an element of that. That'll be part of the plan moving forward in relation to the Olympics, in relation to Paris 24. But I think it's important to state that our funding is progression funding.
Yeah.
And on the basis of that, it has, it's not directly correlated with Olympic medals at this stage.
Okay. Now Craig is just showing me how to push a few buttons here that give us. I think that means we're now. Oh look at that.
Are we on?
We're on. So if we turn around this way, watch now. I'm gonna break a wire or something here now.
There's lots of wires in here.
I know there is, isn't there? This is and we turn around that way.
Are we gonna face the camera?
I can talk to you that way, and we got the camera. And
oh, cool.
Except I'll have to bring my mic round. Oh, producer Dodd to be having kittens here.
Yeah, you got to be careful you don't.
There's a lot of wire behind this mic.
There is a lot.
As well. Yeah, there we go.
Cool.
Okay, so we were talking about that idea of QS. I suppose the problem with that is that anyone can decide they want to go on the QS, and so there needs to be some kind of way of ensuring that progression is, and that the sensible thing is for GB surfing to be spending its energies on surfers who are going to put British surfing on the map in the future, isn't it?
Yeah, there's definitely an element of both of those things that are important. Like, obviously, we're here today. We're at the British Cup. We've got the best of Britain here today. And I think something like this is so valuable to our surfing community, and something that we need to bolster and improve and find ways to support in different ways, grow.
Okay.
So there's an element of that, and there's also the element of like, okay, we need to look at the QS and we need to understand that definitely is a key component in improving surfers.
Okay.
And also the aspiration and the motivation behind the QS.
Yeah.
I think there's something really important about the psyche of individuals who go in the QS. So
Yeah.
that confirmation of that aspiration is something that will take a surfer from being a European champion to potentially Olympic qualification.
Yeah.
So there's lots of different things to consider when looking at this as a wider
And
movement.
do you know what is more important? Because if we look at a good example now, Alice Barton, right?
Yeah.
It is not unreasonable to say that for her the goals are WCT qualification and Olympic qualification. It would be reasonable for her to be thinking about that kind of thing in the future. Which of those is more important from a British surfing point of view?
It's a great question, and I'm not going to speak for Alice because, like, specifically, I haven't spoken with her about her, like, 12-month goals, 6-month goals, 3-year goals, 5-year plan. However, for us, our progression funding, so our funding route, all comes from
Olympic.
all comes from building a structure to the hope of Olympic inclusion and a medal in the future. So 2028, 2032. So
And that's you said the word medal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Medal
okay.
potential for a while away. Yeah.
But a wonderful side effect of that would be CT standard surfers from Britain.
I think that would be an obvious byproduct of that movement, is because if you look at the best surfers who have gone to the Olympics, obviously more than half have been on the CT.
Okay.
So they both need to feed into each other. That's how the qualification route is. It's dynamic.
Yeah.
And that's also, like, we have to be kind of looking at that and mirroring that when we move this forward as well. Like, how do we provide the opportunity and how do we move it forward?
I'm going to thank you again for your time, Gwen. It's great to have you in here. Can I ask you 2 more questions before we come off hold here? Because I think we've had the word that we're going to be going back into the water relatively soon now. I just want to ask about some of the challenges of the job that you guys are taking on, and I think so far doing a great job with. Firstly, can I ask about the challenges that British surfing is faced with in terms of the fact that the British Isles has so many unique and individual surf cultures? So, we've got this great base with facilities down in Newquay, in the surf centre there at Fistral Beach, very consistent waves. We've got Scotland, and we've got up in Scotland, slabs and regular, on its day it can look like Indo, and then we've got a country like Wales, sort of up the M4 and or up the M5 and turn left, and sort of, it's a good idea, we'll rotate the British around, on this 4-year cycle. But what are the challenges with making sure that, in that progression, the 4 home nations are sort of allowed to grow equally?
I think what you've just highlighted is, like, the best part about UK surfing is the fact that every, like, Wales, Scotland, England, Channel Islands, we're all so different, but that's what makes it brill.
Yeah.
That's what makes us special, is because we've come to Wales. How different was Wales to the Scotland trip? Scotland was freezing. It was the right-hand slab. It was half snowing, half not. Today we've got strong onshore winds. We've had a mental tide. Now we've got, like, we've got sunshine. It's still warm. What we need to look at is what already exists. Like, what do we have in each of the home nations that essentially is thriving, which is a lot, and how do we support that, and how do we make that better?
Yeah.
And we don't necessarily want to add completely, like, new things. We just need to look at what are these places and what are these people within the places doing so well. Because let's be clear, like, communities and within the surfing communities, it's all about the people.
Yeah.
So who are the people in these communities that are, like, creating this impact and change, and, like, how can we support them, and how can we also add to it? Like, that's what we need to do. Like, we need to look at what we're doing well, add to it, and also highlight maybe what we need to collectively improve on. So it's going to be a long journey for sure.
Great. And then my other question is the challenges of bringing British surfing to catch up with. You've just been to the ISA Worlds, and you've all done a great job. But you're in the sort of, between 10 and 20th is the target, really, isn't it, when you're at the ISAs?
Yeah.
And then, we look at some countries, emerging nations of surfing are now no longer emerging nations. Japan has just won the extra men's slot, for example.
That's insane.
Who would have forecast that, like, 5 years ago?
Yeah.
And I suppose what are the challenges now to make us potentially a France, a Japan, a US, an Australia, a Brazil? I suppose, forgive me if I've left any of those other top nations out.
I think
Yeah. No, I know. It's I always try and put you guys from. Joel's the same. I try and put him on the spot, and he's like, no, we're all.
Yeah.
I think that's great though. I love that answer. So, Gwen, thanks for your time.
No worries. Thank you
Pleasure.
very much for having me. And Rob.
It's a pleasure, Gwen. Thanks.
Thanks, Gwen.
No worries.
Cheers, Gwen. Thanks for that.
So nice outside.
Is it like cool? How are you guys? All good?
Yeah, we're doing good, Gwen. We're
guys
doing
smashed
good.
it.
So here we go. Robbo's back on the mic with us now. 14 minutes left. So, Rob, we were talking about your lunch, and we were going to find out what you followed your corned beef with
I
us,
know.
and they couldn't fathom that we were having espresso
I think
at
it was
11 o'clock at night.
No, it wasn't. It was Geordie.
Geordie
Brew.
your mate from the cricket
Geordie
club.
Brew.
Geordie Brew, the Sepher from the cricket club. That was it. Yeah,
They have a different way of doing things down there.
they do. Well, down there or up there, the cricket club.
Up the club. Well, last time I'm out, Tom, I gave Pontier cricket scores.
You did give the Quantico
Well, of
scores.
course.
I've got the Arsenal scores. They've won.
Well,
They've beaten Spurs. The rest of the Premier League is just kicking off.
yeah, last time out tonight.
Did you?
Yes.
There's a score in this heat I'll just interrupt you with, and it's a
Please
1
do.
point ride for Katie Smith from the Channel Islands. Puts her into the lead as we approach the halfway point.
Obviously, no cricket scores to give today. However, you'll be delighted to know that Pontier AFC are playing Crick Howell AFC in what's been dubbed as the Clash of the Titans.
Football.
Yes, football. To decide who is the best of those two teams on this day. No scores yet, as yet.
There is everything to play for, and forever to play it in.
More football.
It's the football. Watch it. It's going to move.
Football.
So here we go. It's the surfing. Watch it. It's going to move. And it is moving. Katie Smith in the lead as things stand. Kate David and Robin Lang. David's lead over Lang at the moment is only alphabetical, but once one of them rides a wave, we'll have point of difference. And the glare, it's still there. I'd love to be able to say watch it, it's going to move about that, but it is going to move because the event is going to move down onto the right hand point, which they call the left, because we've been learning Lantwit here, Lantwitish. Josh, do you speak Lantwitish, or are you a bit sort of, is it beneath you?
Maybe a little bit of it. It
Right.
depends.
What we
People I'm
should-
with don't speak it.
What we need to do is get a sentence.
Do you know, I
Get
think,
everyone to write a sentence and see if Josh can, like, in full Lantwitish.
because Josh is sitting between us all the time while we're doing all of this yakking away, pushing all these buttons to give us cameras and stuff like that, I think that we'll have to start calling him Producer Josh.
Producers.
Although
PJ.
PJ, Producer Josh. Although is that gonna is the actual producer? Mind you, we got 4 producers on this now, haven't we?
Yeah, it's
We've
it's
got
grown arms and legs,
Producer
isn't it?
Craig, Producer Dodd, Producer Diana.
In
And
most
Producer
film
Reese.
sets, you get 2 producers and 2 executive producers.
What do we get? So
Two executives and 2 normal
we
producers
got 2.
on most sets.
All right. So would that make what would Reese be? He'd be executive producer, would he? And then what would Dodd be? But Producer Dodd.
No, isn't the actual producer is the person that actually deals with the ins and outs of running it, and the executive producers get final.
They make it happen, don't they?
No, I think that they get kind of content control. don't they,
Robin
if there's something
Robin
they want
Larg
to
has
include.
picked up a 0.73. So that leaves David needing, and she's got a 0.63 now. So we've got there's not quite a point of difference, but we've got some difference between the 3 surfers. So David for Wales is in 3rd at the moment, and in need of a score.
Now, I'm sure you've mentioned it, Tom, and it is worth pointing out again. However, when we went on hold a little while ago, the competitors in this heat had to remove themselves to get out of the water. Did they get out? They certainly had to wait a long time.
They
so
did. They were in their
bless them,
wetsuits.
they are
It's
Smith.
If
You
I
I'll say Smith, and you tell me if it's hot or cold. Smith.
Cold.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
hot was it?
yeah.
Oh dear.
Whoa, Smith.
Cold.
Yeah.
All right.
There's a
How about this? So
Smith.
Cold.
Either cold or really hot.
It's really hot.
Good, okay.
That's 38 degrees
Yeah.
in the car with your old
You've
man, and he's turned the
heard-
heating up anyway.
You've heard that's
What's that about?
You've heard a
Oh,
land
he's just
Twittish
nuts.
conversation before.
So, Mark, if you're
Group with team notifications
So,
has been updated with the latest running order.
We've got some running order updates coming through, and so we're going to be going into men's repechage round shortly. So by the end of today, we won't have sent a huge number of surfers home. We have started sending surfers home through these repechage rounds, but it's going to be we're going to then go on to a couple of other of the progression knockout rounds, rounds 3 and onwards.
Fancy surfing for me as well.
And now there's Vorney going by again. I'll have to show him that I've been practicing my my land Twittish.
So, I don't know if you caught that on the ambient noise there, Tom,
I did.
but we are going to be seeing the men's repechage rounds taking place on the point.
On the point, which is the left, which is a right-hander. They call the left.
No, as in on the right and left. On the point,
hang
on the right hand
point
side. Yes.
Is the right hand is the
Then-
left and right peak that they call a left.
Then
Although
we'll-
they call a right. What do they call it? I don't know.
the point. Then we'll be moving after that to the left, which is
the
actually
right.
the right-hand point break
Right.
for women's round 2 heats 1 to 4 and men's round
So
2.
the battle of the marks
Heats
is
1 to
taking
4.
place on the point, which is the peak that is in front of us
That
right
is
now.
correct.
Banging. I've got it.
So
Okay.
someone that will be very happy that they're going to be changing location after that to the point break, which is the left-hand side, is Logan Nicol.
He loves it.
He loves it. I love it. Everyone loves it,
Yeah.
except it seems a few handful of locals who think it's a fat wave, but it's not. It's one of Wales's best waves, in my opinion. On its
I
day.
agree. Now, I'll tell you something, right? Where I come from, Porthcawl, half an hour up the road, we've got 7 or 8 main surf spots that we can surf facing in all different conditions, right? The one time it's hard for us to surf in Porthcawl would be these exact conditions now. Low tide with a strong wind with some west in it. So that tends to be when we go to the point at Lantwit. Now, when the point at Lantwit is really, really good and clean, or not the point, sorry, the left that's a right, that point break that Logan likes. When we go there, when it's really good and really clean, we don't tend to go there because it's good and clean where we are. So I always surf it when it's a bit like today, you know, with a bit of wind, side shore wind on it. So my experience of it has always got that kind of side shore challenge thrown in. But I'm often told, you know, why don't I just go there when it's like properly clean? And the answer is because I live too near to good waves that are properly clean, and I suppose it's that rule of surf travel, isn't it, that you shouldn't leave what's in front of you in the hope of getting something better, but sometimes you should. And I suppose you're right, it is a good enough wave that kind of decision could and should be made sometimes, wouldn't you say, Rob?
Absolutely.
You coming from further up the road from Pontier of cricket fame, you would come down here and surf it when it's clean, wouldn't you?
Absolutely. I love Lantwit. It's a wave of many conditions.
And so that heat is finishing out there, and it's going to be Larg and David advancing. So Larg did pick one up. Now, I do make an apology to the viewers at home. It's been challenging, I think, for the camera work to pick up rides with that glare. So I'm sorry if we didn't see that much of it, but we did end up with no change at the end, other than Larg moving up into the lead, and there does seem to be some sort of congratulations being issued out towards that surfer. And so we're going to take a little break, and then we're going to be underway with the next heat, which I believe is the men's repechage round 1. Well, round 2 they call it, so we'll see that shortly. So, Ben Larg. No. Yeah, we're going to find out shortly. Whoever gets the P4 next to their name will have been that surfer. And so we get a flurry of action to start it off. for us, seeing colours is a little challenging. And so, yeah, that would have been both Ben Larg and Matt Chapman on those last two waves, as they are the surfers who now have gone to third and fourth priority. And the priority judge will now be waiting to see which of them gets back into the lineup first. Now, that is a tough job in this glare, priority judge, because you've got to... Steve has made it back into the lineup first out of Chapman and Larg. So Chapman gets a decent score, a 2.93. And then Larg immediately gets a better one at a 4. So those two surfers who are both paddling back out are in first and second place now.
Yellow, a 4.0.
So a 4 for Ben Larg.
2.93.
And yeah, 2.93 for Matt Chapman.
2.17.
So clear decision.
Meanwhile, as we're speaking, the wind has just bumped up about 10 miles per hour on top of what it was. It is absolutely howling all of a sudden.
It is.
I fear, Tom, actually, casting my eyes down the channel westward, we're about to be hit by a squall of some substance.
I think that could well be a safe prediction there, Robbo.
So it's 3:20 now, so we're an hour before low. Still loads of swell.
Yeah, I got 11 minutes past 4 for low, according to my
So about
watch.
50 minutes away.
And here we
loads
go.
of swell for this stage of
Big
tide.
backhand blast here for the surfer in. I believe that to be blue Matt Chapman. Now all surfers have ridden a flurry here. We've got that one because there's no one with priority, so there's a paddle race back out to the lineup, and then behind that, I think that's the surfer in red, Barnaby Cox. So I think that was Matt Chapman. It could have been George Watt, but I think so. Let's see. Now I'm trying to think. It is Matt Chapman who's the goofy foot, isn't it, from the Channel Islands? The
Yes.
languid, as you described it,
Languid
goofy.
style,
But
lovely.
that was potentially the wave of the heat. You can confirm from your screen, Rob, whether we've got scores.
Yes, we
anticipated
have
for-
got a score waiting to drop for Matt Chapman. We also have a score waiting to drop for Ben Larg of Scotland,
Yeah, that
surfing
was
in
it.
yellow.
Up and down on the inside, I think.
So at the minute, as it stands, surfer in blue Matt Chapman is actually in the lead. He's looking to replace a 2.93.
and will have done.
In second, surfer in white George Watt is looking for a 3.83 to take first in yellow Ben Larg. He needs just a 1.10 to move into second. And surfer in red Barnaby Cox is in fourth, looking for a 3.27 to move into second position. So all to play for here with plenty of time remaining in this heat. I'm so looking forward to seeing our competitors take to the left-hand side.
Red, a 4.93.
And we've got a score. Two scores have dropped for Barnaby Cox now, a 6.5 and a 4.93. And then Matt Chapman with a 4 and a 3.83. So Ben Larg, it's all about that backup wave now. He's got a 4, needs a 1.4 to try and take it to the next level. And here we go. And I think this is Ben Larg in the yellow here now. Oh, and he gets hung up on a cutback there, so that will be a backup score. But he actually needed that to be a decent one, a 3.83, and I think that might turn out to be a little bit ambitious. We have an up and down headed left. That's George Watt. George Watt is a goofy footer, I do believe. So we've got two Scottish surfers, a Channel Island surfer. Chapman is from the Channel Islands, and Barnaby Cox from England in this heat. And at the moment, Cox is in a strong position. And there we see, I'm assuming that to be Matt Chapman. And behind him, this is Barnaby Cox, I'm guessing. Kicks out ahead of him. So we'll have another little race out to the lineup. And we see a photographer down there. Tough angle to take a picture from there. I suppose they've probably got the sun just about positioned behind them from there. And there is a lot of water moving through that lineup. I think that rip, it can tend to start just before the tide turns, doesn't it, Rob, the rip?
Yeah, you get a few minutes grace, and then start warming up your arms, Tom, because you are in for one heck of a paddle.
Yeah.
I actually think the surfers that are moving over to the left-hand side for the next heat, so that's Mark Vaughan, Craig Bright, Mark Boyd, and Anders Ravenscroft, are getting off a bit light here. They're getting off quite lightly, not having to tussle.
So Chapman is still holding second place here now. He's got a 6.5 on one of those waves. We'll have to call it, you have AM and PM. We'll have to have like AG and PG in this heat. Anti-glare and is it anti? Yeah, anti-glare and post-glare. So and Ben Kabedza in the heat after that. And then we got Alex Townsend and Ewan Buick made it out with one of them, and we had the other one was Kieran Smith and Anders Ravenscroft in a really high standard of surfing in that under 18 boys repechage heat 1, and they both went through. And this heat is coming to an end, and so I think it looks like that is going to be that for Ben Larg, unless something was ridden and I think that is it. So but Ben Larg has not had a good repechage round, unfortunately. Chapman and Cox are going to be going through. Chapman from the Channel Islands and Cox from England. And we swing down the point. And we're going to be getting repechage round 2 in dreamy conditions. Or repechage heat 2 in dreamy conditions. And we're back, and I think you may have just heard the horn, and it's the Battle of the Marks. This is it. We've been talking about this one. This is arguably one of the big grudge matches owed from the last British Cup up in Thurso, when Mark Vaughan of Wales got himself into a paddle battle with Mark Boyd of Scotland, and it ended up in a court of arbitration for sport, didn't it, Rob?
It sure did.
The heat was rerun, and Vaughan got the jump.
What was the actual technical reason? I remember watching it. I can't remember.
It was to do with priority and interference. I think it was to do with who'd won a paddle battle and whether the technique for I think it was to do. Now this is me working on very limited information. I think it was to do with.
Yeah, they're saying a long way up the point compared to where you would normally sit.
Yeah, there's. So that, in fact, is the Scottish flag. So actually, this camera, right? I now understand. The camera is way up the point. The surfers are way up the point then. So they've done the classic. They've pushed each other right up behind the waves. Mentality. Oh goodness me! And there's great waves reeling off just to the left of them. So I've completely reorientated now. The TV screen is one rock pool away from where the surfers need to be, and as a result, it's a little bit tight and a little bit small. So the best of these waves will run down the point from where the surfers are.
This
and here
is
goes
surfer in white, Craig Bright, up and riding on his backhand, putting together 3 really nice turns on the steeper section.
And
steeper
there,
outside section
to the left of your screen, is the point break starting. So they're all behind it.
Up and riding now is surfer in yellow, Mark Boyd.
Yeah. Also, so they're all too deep. So a surfer who wants to paddle down from that crowd, maybe they will once they've got priority.
Well, there's always that hope, and it does happen here at Lantwit.
That one comes all the way through.
One goes all the way through, and if you're lucky enough to be on that wave, then you are laughing.
Yeah.
Because not only will you have that steeper outside section, but you get all of the inside as well.
Yeah. Now they happen though realistically. Okay, granted you're surfing it with a crowd. They're like once every 2 sessions, aren't they? For the I don't mean once every 2 sessions that one exists. I mean for you as an individual surfer, if you had one of those waves every 2 times you surf there, you'd be happy.
I think they're a little bit more frequent than that.
Well, they might be for you with your long arms, because you are quite the magnet.
You had a partridge-esque tone then.
Did I?
Ooh, well, that might be for you.
I love it. Rob's a big fan of Partridge. You do an impression, don't you?
Big fan of Partridge.
Yeah.
I've got his new audiobook to listen to on the way home.
And right, and is that's a parody book? I'm taking it.
Yes, from the Oast House.
Okay, interesting.
The second series.
Some scores are in, and Mark Vaughan has actually got himself a 4.33 for that. Well, let's call it a closeout that ran slightly longer than the other closeouts ridden in this heat so far. Mark Boyd a 3.33 for his. Ravenscroft yet to get moving, and then Bright, hopefully, and there we are, I knew it, Bright with a score to drop, 5.67 drops for Bright, and he pops into the lead. So Craig Bright did definitely get the best of that exchange. The score is entirely fair there. And so Bright, quite rightly, is into a good lead. Nice position to be. You got the best wave of the heat, yet in the lead with one wave ridden. And he's only one spot away from top priority. So now we've got the two surfers from Lantwit in advancing positions and with first and second priority. That is not a position in which Boyd and Ravenscroft would want to be, is it?
White in second priority, yellow in third priority.
So, yeah, the two surfers, yellow and blue, Boyd, Scotland, Ravenscroft, Channel Islands. They're holding third and fourth priority, and they're the two surfers needing waves. Will they get them? We'll find out shortly. And so here we are, Mark Vaughan up and riding, and he's going to try and project to make that section, has done, and doesn't quite tag the lip though then as he gets round. So he had the speed to come round, but it wasn't quite the speed to find the lip. But he's going to keep working this one, and there is a good chance of an inside manoeuvre on it. But yeah, he ejects.
Next heat, the women's round.
Vaughany looking to replace a 1.17, probably will. So it would need to be I forget the name of it, the one that follows the tour. So Vaughan jumps into the lead at 3.67 for that last one, and he is back in top priority. So the Lantwit surfers are using their priority well in this heat. I think 9 minutes remaining. It's a tall order for the other surfers. Boyd, here he goes. Setup turns. So it just looks as though Boyd doesn't quite know what section to put what move on out there. Do you think, Rob?
I think you're probably spot on the money there, Tom. It's not the easiest wave to get used to. Takes lots of time and patience out there.
Yeah, he did his setup manoeuvres on that one when as if the inside was going to reform, and then the inside didn't, wasn't it? It's difficult though, because you've got to do a big manoeuvre early in case that one doesn't reform, but then you also don't want to get left behind it too, because it's a fast wave for the first couple of sections.
So there we have it, a change of situation, Tom, on my screen.
Yeah.
As it stands, surfer in blue, Anders Ravenscroft is in fourth. He's looking for a 5.4 to move into that second position to progress through. In third is the surfer in yellow from Scotland, Mark Boyd. He's looking for a 4.67 to move into that qualifying position in second. In second is Mr. Lantwit, Mark Vaughan, surfer in red. He's sitting on a 4.33 and a 3.67, so looking to better that 3.67. And out in front, Craig Bright sitting on a 5.67 and a 3.23, and we're waiting for scores to drop from white, yellow and blue.
Yeah, that lead change was always going to happen as soon as Craig Bright rode a second wave. And rode a second wave he did, and rode it well. So 7.5 minutes remaining here now. Amazingly, surfers from the last heat are only just getting back up here. So that's the time it takes to get across all of those rocks and to come back in. And so our surfer from Jersey in the blue, who advanced from the last heat, looking pretty pleased with himself. Anders Ravenscroft, surfer for Jersey in blue in this one. And he needs a 4.11. So Vaughan's position in this heat is vulnerable. The rain squall, the much promised rain squall, has not quite materialized as yet. And we've got a little bit of a lull between some sets going on here. Oh, we've got someone in the way of the camera, and they've left again.
6.5 minutes remaining.
And
White, you're in first. Red, you're in second.
we've got a wave
Yellow,
coming
you're
through
in
now,
third.
though, and this one's hugging the point nicely. So we'll see who chooses to use their priority on this one. It's going to be Mark Boyd, and he's got some work to do. And then he's right behind, just too deep, and that one is going to reel off. So
You have third priority.
at the moment, the Battle of the Marks is swinging very much in the direction of Vaughan. Do you think there's any words being exchanged in that lineup right now, Rob?
No.
Don't you think?
No, I think they're everybody in there is a seasoned competitor. I think everybody's probably got their own game plan and are trying to stick to it. Also, with just 20 minutes to go until the turn of the tide, I suspect they're trying to catch as many waves as they can before it does swing round and that rip really kicks in.
Yeah, it's going to be really big. It'll be a really big grip, won't it? And the waves will pick up in size too. Mark Vaughan, though, he's a talker in heats. I surfed against him in a Welsh once, where he was singing at me in the lineup.
I like a sing.
Yeah, and he was, but in fairness, it made me smell weakness. And who do you think came on top in that one? For the only time.
Smell blood. So 5 minutes left in this round 2 repechage heat 2. Little break in the action here. What could well happen, Tom, in the next 20 minutes or so before we see the tide swing round is that we could have a few prolonged lulls. But as soon as that tide turns round, we're going to see, as you've mentioned, a big uptick in the size of waves.
Yeah.
Probably a big uptick in the consistency of the waves as well, which is conducive to great viewing, great heat.
It is.
Great heats.
See the ladies for the next heat making their way down. I think that's Victoria Farmer, isn't it? In the pink, surfing for England. The Craig Bright is up and riding here. We just need camera 1, camera 2 to pick him up. But he's ridden out of the picture. 1 or 2 raindrops just landed. And there's a good set coming through here. This is probably the biggest set to come through. And it's going to reel off the whole of the... Look at that thing there. Look at that.
Here we go.
And we're going to get a ride here. And it's Mark Vaughan using priority wisely. At his home break, on the set of the heat. He is going to be taking this one to the races.
I actually think it's Craig Bright on the inside, isn't it? I can't struggling to tell the colours.
It's Mark Vaughan. It's Mark Vaughan, and he's going to make a connection. He's got to do the hop here, but there is a connection to be made on this thing.
I beg your pardon. I was looking at the surfer on the inside wave.
And Vaughan, he's going to do the work. He's going to get a manoeuvre, and he does get one, and he does land it. And it's 40. Now, can I say one to mean lots?
One
in
what?
Land Twittish.
Say one what?
I can say, doesn't one mean lots in Land Twittish?
Yeah.
Okay, so can I call him a 41-year-old, and then that would be like 40 and lots? Here we go,
Meanwhile,
Craig Bright.
So this
on
is
the
Craig.
one
So
behind. Yeah.
that means that the first wave of that set must have been ridden by surfer in yellow Mark Boyd. Then it was Mark Vaughan behind him, Anders Ravenscroft behind him, and now Craig Bright picking up the last wave of that heat. So action from all 4 surfers there, Tom, and 4 really well surfed waves. I think the judges will have their work cut out
Boydie with a reply.
to try and score those.
We can look at Bright, and on the replay here, we can see what Bright did coming down that inside. So he had a better inside than Vaughan. Goes past Ravenscroft there. It shows how far up the point he was. And that connection. And then pulls out. So both... I mean, this has been the the Lantwit Surfers heat to lose, really, hasn't it? For me, Vaughan needed a 4.58 on that last one. I think it'll be close. That's just to take the lead, though. Boyd needed 4.67 to take second, and I don't think that will happen.
Mark Vaughan's score comes in at a 4.33, on par with his other high-scoring wave. So he's got a heat total of 8.66, which now means surfer in yellow, Mark Boyd, needs a 5.33. It was a good wave, well served. I don't think it's going to come in just there, but we'll leave that to the judges as we see surfer in white.
Do we know who's got priority?
A 4.43. At the minute, no one will have priority because they're all racing back out to the lineup. So we've had score drop for White at 4.43, which means he has extended his lead somewhat. We are waiting for scores to drop for yellow and for blue now. Surfer in blue, Anders Ravenscroft, has now got first priority. He's made it, the priority judges deemed him to have reached the lineup first, so he gets first pick of any waves that come through. Last of yellow comes in at a 1.83, so well below what surfing yellow Mark Boyd needed. We are just waiting for a wave to come for surfer in blue, and as Ravenscroft. I didn't catch all of the wave, but I saw the end of it. I don't know if that's going to feature in his top two. He's looking to replace a 2.60, and he does replace it. Do you know what? He's actually bettered his score by quite a lot, so it shows that I obviously didn't catch the beginning of that wave, only saw the end. A 4.03.
So 30 seconds left, but Vaughan's position is vulnerable now. I don't know. And Ravenscroft has got priority, so he has got a chance here.
And
with
he
30
needs
seconds
only
left.
a 3.98.
Yeah, and this is doable.
Oh, we've seen another situation change now, Tom. I beg your pardon. So the situation is thus: Mark Vaughan is sitting on the 4.33 and a 4.33. Anders Ravenscroft now needs a 4.
We're counting out, and this is Ravenscroft, and this needs to be the 4.63 right here, and that's not going to be it. So that is going to be the two Lantwit surfers advancing from this heat. The battle of the marks puts it advantage Vaughny again. So there we go. We're over to the women's next round of the women's, round 3 coming up shortly. So there's a slight delay going on before we start this next heat. And now we do start the next heat. We'll tell you who's in it as soon as we get that info. But this is now the ladies round 3. And it's heat 1 of ladies round 3. So this is now straight elimination. And this will be the ladies who won through the repechage. And we'll be hearing the dulcet tones of Mr. Blythe, which is actually
Wolf.
Yeah, it's Wolf. It's Welsh for wolf, isn't it? Did you plan that when you chose your surname at birth?
I chose it. Deed poll. Wolf.
What's the
no,
time?
I've got an E on mine, Tom.
What's the time, Mr. Blythe?
I have an E.
Ah, so you put the E on the end, and that becomes doesn't it mean like nonchalant, or to be blithe?
I mean, to be happy, I believe.
Oh, it means to be happy, does it?
Carefree.
Indifferent and carefree. Ah, how interesting.
So depending on my mood, I can opt for the Welsh translation or the English.
Yeah. So we've got round 3, heat 1 in the water now, and this is Charlotte Mulley. Now she's surfed a couple of times today already and surfed really well. And we've got Lola Mitchell, who also surfed really well and had a proper buzzer beater at the end of her repechage heat. And then we've got Robin Larg, who has also progressed through. And so this is round 3. And now one of these guys will go home, and the winners will go through to a semi-final. So we're going to be running a lot of these heats today. And the women's are going to be going right down to, I think, just the final left today. And so on the point break, we'll see what kind of start these guys get off to. I can see that we've got a camera moving further down to see if we can get a better image of that point break. I think it's going to be a little while before we go back onto the heat, the actual point. And you can see the Scottish flag still flying proud, and they've got Robin Larg in this one, and I think Lola Mitchell. Isn't Lola Mitchell serving for Scotland as well?
Absolutely.
So they've got 2 Scots and 1. I think Charlotte
English
is surfing for England, isn't she? And powerful, stylish, goofy footer. I was really impressed by her surfing in both her heats earlier this morning. Charlotte progressed in both the juniors and in the ladies. And we were having that conversation about Charlotte as being a good example of an interpretation of power that we'd recently been discussing, that Brad Gerlach had come up with, that power is about precision and timing. And here she is. But wave knowledge also needed here, and I think Charlotte Mully, that Mully went for the wrong wave on that one there, and yeah, poor wave choice, which means that she's lost priority, so she goes into priority 3. Lola Mitchell and Robin Larg then will be in the position to do a bit more. And here we go, up and riding, and this is Lola Mitchell, who did great in this morning's heat, and here she goes again, and she is a dynamic young surfer, Lola Mitchell, and she gets back to the power pocket there. So that'll be a very early 4-minute mark lead. And then good surfing here now on the backhand. This is Charlotte Mully. And I knew that if you gave Charlotte Mully a point break, she was going to open up, and she does just that. And so Charlotte Mully gives that wave a, well, ironically, Gerlach would disapprove of this, but I would say she gave that wave a bashing, wouldn't you?
Yeah. You pointed out Charlotte's technique and style this morning, Tom, and I believe you said that you wanted to see her on the point break, and your wish has come to fruition, and we're getting to see some excellent surfing from Charlotte here.
That'll be a score to start with. She got a 1.5.
Will be a score.
She was sitting on a 1.5 and a 0.67, but that's going to go in much more than that. Lola Mitchell.
This fine Saturday, the first Saturday of October. Windy of swell, conditions too detrimentally at the moment, as we see Surfer in red trying her best to get down the face of that wave, unfortunately not managing to do so. Still plenty of time in this heat for our surfers to get busy and post some scores. The situation as it stands is Surfer in yellow, Robin Larg, is in 3rd position. She requires a 2.14 to move into 2nd position and advance through this round. Surfer in white, Lola Mitchell, is currently in 2nd position, looking for a 4.27 to move into 1st. And out in front is the surfer in red, Charlotte Mully, sitting on a combination of a 4.83 and a 1.5, meaning her combination is a 6.33. She's sitting rather comfortably at the moment in this heat, but like I mentioned, there's time aplenty. Anything can happen. So I can feel the wind picking up by the second here as another squall approaches. What tends to happen on, especially on days with the bigger tide, I don't know whether, I imagine this is linked, but on the days with the bigger tides at low tide, when the tide swings round, it almost drags in any nearby weather, and we get a big increase in the wind as that tide turns. So I'm expecting the wind to pick up in about 5 minutes, even stronger than it is already. Like I said, it's not affecting conditions too badly at the moment. our surfers enjoying some lovely long rides on the left-hand side of the bay on the long right-hand point break that Atlanta is so famed for, down the hallowed cobblestones. Loads of time left in this heat. Plenty of time for a complete situation change. We've got a little gap in the action at the moment. A lull. However, I do see some bumps on the horizon, so perhaps a set is approaching. If you've been watching throughout the day, thank you so much for joining us here for day one of the British Cup. It's been a challenging day to run a surf contest with a variety of conditions being experienced throughout the course of the day, but it's been a great day. Yeah, a variety of conditions on offer today. Competitors, of course, doing a sterling job in every single heat so far, and with about, I think we've got about 7 heats left on the schedule for today. You're sure to see plenty more action coming your way. Thanks for sticking with us through some of the more challenging moments of the day. I'm sure you'll appreciate the logistics are quite difficult. We're in a cabin separated from the judges, so we're doing our best to keep you updated with live scores. We're also quite a long way from the action at the minute, so we're using a combination of line of sight and also the close up on the screen to provide you with live visual and audio updates on the action. Such is the distance between where we are sat at the minute and where the surfing is taking place, is that our competitors from the last heat are only just arriving back to deposit their rash vests with the beach marshals. So it is quite a walk. It's a good 5-minute stroll, and probably lengthened by the sharp cobbles and barefoot combination. Big smiles on the Lancet boys' faces though as Mark Vaughan and Craig Bright advance through that last heat. Situation as it stands in this heat: surfer in white, Lola Mitchell, representing Scotland, is now in 3rd position. She requires only a 1.13 to move into 2nd and advance through this round. Surfer in yellow, Robin Larg, representing Scotland, also is currently in 2nd position. She's requiring a 5.16 to move into 1st position. And surfer in red, Charlotte Mully, representing England, is currently out in the lead with a 4.83 and a 2.70. So Charlotte will be looking to improve on her 2.70. As we see her up and riding now on a nice looking wave that probably will run down the length of the point if she can get around this one section, which I think she will. She's got plenty of momentum to get her down the line, and she cracks a beautiful backhand bash off the lip there. That wave actually racing away on the inside, but it should be enough, I think, for for Charlotte Mully to better that 2.70. Once again, always caveat it by saying that I'm not a judge, and we will leave it to the judges to provide you with official scores. However, anecdotally, Charlotte Mully's done it, I think, Tom. I think she's done enough.
What did Charlotte Mully need?
Charlotte Mully...
Oh, she's in the lead.
Yeah, she's in the lead, but she's looking to better a 2.70, and I think she may well have done it on that last ride.
Yeah.
Will the judges prove me right or wrong? It remains to be seen.
I think there's a reasonable chance that Mark Vaughan will come and talk to us about his experience in the Battle of the Marks.
I should think so. I'm going to pop my head out because I've just seen somebody that I teach, and I'm going to say hello to them.
Good idea.
Mark Vaughan, can you check contest control, please?
You may have heard the beach announcer asking Mark Vaughan to contest control there, so he's obviously got needed in some way. So the situation we have here, 5 minutes, and we've got Lola Mitchell from Scotland in 3rd place, needing a score, but it's a small one, a 1.3. So this last heat, the Battle of the Marks, this heat is the Battle of the Backups. Larg with the 1, Mitchell with the 1.13. Whoever replaces that backup with anything in the 2-point range or above moves to an advancing position. There are some big names coming up in the ladies very shortly. Alice Barton is just collecting a jersey. Now with 4 minutes remaining,
4 minutes remaining.
she is,
Red, you're in
I'm
first.
expecting
Red,
that must be
4.67.
a Heat 3 jersey, because there is no way surely that a competitor
White, you're in
would
first.
be
Yellow, you have
3 and a
first
bit minutes
priority.
away
White, you have second priority.
from being in the lineup and not down there already. So Larg in yellow from Scotland, the surfer who is holding on to second place, has also got priority, so if she uses it wisely, Lola Mitchell is going to need 2 waves to come through before she can realistically challenge for that second position. Lola Mitchell, great surfer, young. I'm not sure the exact age, but we're talking she is young. Surfed really well, a real gung-ho style. Just, you know, surfs like someone who really enjoys surfing. And it's quite enjoyable to watch Lola Mitchell surfing. And she's chasing a score here. Now, with the amount of water moving out there, sometimes you can't even use priority as a blocking maneuver because you just can't get near enough to the surfer that you're trying to block. We see there, that's the surfer in red, take off too deep behind the section. That's Charlotte Mully. And that doesn't make any difference, it just moves it. And now here we go, up and right in, and that is the surfer in white, Lola Mitchell. And so that was an attempt by her to try and get the score. So Robin Larg was too far up the point to block her, but is on the wave behind, but is stuck behind the section. So that is a possible change of the runner-up position, and there's a lovely right-hander running on through. I don't know if Mully is going to be in place for it. Depends if she's managed to paddle back out again enough. I think that wave's now gone past the point in the lineup where Mully is located. But Mully's going to get on the one behind, and so... Oh, and a nice fan of spray. She's got a speed section coming to her here, and whacks, that one comes down and stomps it. And so that, well, the judges are going to have some work to do there. A 4.67. Mully's low score so far. Whether she replaces that is up to the judges. I like having a punt at this. I'm going to speculate that she did beat 4.67 with that wave. I've only seen one of her 2 scores in this heat, but I'm going to speculate that she did do it. So that's where I'm going to go, and I'm right. 6.5 for Charlotte Mully there. So that's the wave of the heat. So she's gone round the corner. She's out of range. 7.83 would be the requirement for Lola Mitchell, who has also popped up into second. So with 45 minutes left, it's all about Robin Larg. And can Robin get into position and get a wave? There's a lot of water moving. I can't see that many sets coming through, but you can get one that hugs the point out here, and you can post the kind of score she needs. It's a decent score. She needs a 3.4. There's 30 seconds left. There is a set coming through. That set will go down the point within the 30 seconds. And she hasn't got priority though, so if Lola Mitchell is rehearsed enough in priority, she will be able to use it to block Larg out. I don't think it's going to come to that because I think both of them are out of place. And so Lola Mitchell, the youngster, is going to advance. There is a takeoff going on, and it is Robin Larg, but it's an in and out, and it won't change things. So Lola Mitchell in an advancing position at the end of that one. And she'll be delighted to progress. I've been really impressed by Lola's performances so far. Coming up, round 3, heat 2. Exciting end to that one. Judges just making absolutely sure that that last wave of lag didn't change things. Be astonished if it did. So, just confirming what we know. Charlotte Mully, Lola Mitchell. Good surfing in that heat. Charlotte Mully, yeah, both those surfers really impressing me for the stages of surfing that they're at. Mully a little older than Mitchell, I'm guessing at least. And so we're underway now with the next heat, heat 2.
Round 3, heat 2 of the women's.
And
next heat.
We'll have that updated on the screen for you ASAP.
15 minutes before your heat to give yourself plenty of time to work across the rocks.
And it's 2 Welsh surfers.
Yay.
And 1
Following the
Scottish
women's,
surfer.
round 3 will be the men's.
Rob
round
Blythe
3.
has been fetching some confectionery for himself.
There's a pupil.
Oh.
It wasn't him. But I came
Oh,
back-
Rob thought he saw someone he knew when he went and tapped them on the back and it wasn't them.
So I came back with a Coke and I sliced an egg and cress sandwich instead.
I went egg and cress for my afternoon tea as well. It was a nice one. The Scottish flag.
Do you know what the
Flies
Scottish flag is called?
No, but I can give you some factoids in return for the factoid you're about to give me.
Go on.
Oh right. Oh no, I do. It's the St Andrew's Cross, isn't it?
I don't know. I'm just checking.
Oh yeah, I think it's the St Andrew's
No,
Cross.
no. I knew there was a special word in there.
And what is it?
I mean, it is the St Andrew's Cross, aka the Saltire.
Oh,
That's what I was going for.
I didn't know that. Got to say it in the accent.
Saltire.
Saltire.
St Andrew's Cross.
St Andrews.
Is he?
He's very cross. Yeah. Now the factoid I can tell you is that it was. I'm sure I've said this before in some heat when we've been talking about these matters. No, I know when I said it. I said it when Patrick Langdon Dark competed in a Challenger Series with y Draig Goch, the Welsh flag, and we talked about the Union Jack because we had a conversation about flags. We were talking about whether English surfers would want to surf with the Union Jack or the St George, whether Scottish surfers. Now, the Scottish surfers, as you can see, they do want their flag. English surfers, it was interesting because I think Luke Dillon, being Cornish, he would want a more bespoke flag to represent his national identity. And then that was it. Logan said he'd have a Union Jack on one shoulder and a Draig Goch on the other, and Pat was like, I don't want anything to do with the Union Jack. I'll have the Draig Goch on both shoulders, thank you.
3.23.
Now, the Union Jack is the St George Cross and the St Andrew's Cross superimposed on top of each other. And do you know which? Now, I would say English King, but it was English and Scottish King. This is a clue for you. It was who did that. Who he commissioned a designer, and they came up with lots of different flags, including ones where it was just the St George sitting on one half of the flag, the St Andrews on the other. They toyed with the St George with the St Andrews in one top corner of it before settling on the Union Jack. So the clue is in the question: which English and Scottish king had commissioned the design of the Union Jack? Diana's in the booth temporarily. Oh, she's looking worried about being chucked on the mic again. We were talking about flags, Diana. I wonder if yeah, you wouldn't need to have had the history of English kings and queens foisted upon you.
Edward.
Okay, now this is interesting. Go, Rob.
King Edward the Seventh.
7th. Oh.
A pool of water on the middle left of your screen. Once the tide comes in and fills that, we'll see a deterioration in quality. So we've got, I would say, at least another 40 minutes to an hour of favourable tidal conditions. Plenty of time for our surfers to put on a show as we see more and more waves wrap into the bay here at Atlantic Major, Colhue Bay, on a sunny yet very, very windy Saturday afternoon. Loads of action still to come today. Coming up next will be heat number 1 of the men's round 3, featuring Craig McLaughlin of Scotland, Liam Murray of England, and Barnaby Cox of England. A stacked heat at the back. Right now, however, is Jo Dennison, surfer in white, representing Wales, working her way on her backhand right through to the inside, hoping to find the connection to the inside section, which lines up beautifully. Unfortunately, Jo didn't manage to pump through that area of deeper water that runs adjacent to the pool you can see in the middle left of your screen. The highest scoring waves we've seen since we've been over on the left-hand side have been those waves ridden from all the way at the back right through to the inside, with a series of major maneuvers. Not much going on in between the maneuvers, no pumping, no minor turns, just a series of big maneuvers, and we saw that from Alice Barton and Victoria Farmer just a few heats ago. You can, of course, rewind all of today's action and watch once the stream is uploaded later this evening. This morning's stream's already been uploaded, so if you're looking for any action from this morning, you can check that out. Simply go to WSF, Welsh Surfing Federation webpage, and you can find links to all of the streams, including this one when action ends later today. I think we've got about 6 heats left in the day after this one. So that's 2 hours worth of surfing, so we'll be looking to finish around about 7 o'clock, just after, if light permits. That is the intention of contest organisers, though. We're getting to that time of year, well into autumn now, and those dark evenings, they're knocking on our door, losing 2 minutes of light every day. Such is the way it all works. Loads of swell wrapping into the bay here at Atlantic Major for this day 1 of the British Cup 2022. Up and riding, surfer in red, Lucy Campbell looking for a big finish off the end section here. Finds it, stomps it, rides out. There won't be much more on offer on this wave, but she's sticking with it and kicks through the bag. Yep, this is day 1 of the British Cup. The event rotates on an annual basis between the home nations. So last year it was in Scotland, this year it's in Wales. I think it may go to the Channel Islands to England next year, and then Channel Islands, giving each of our home nations the opportunity to host and maybe, just maybe, gain a sliver of home advantage. It's certainly working in the Welsh men's favour today, as we see all 4 Welsh men into the round 3. They'll be coming up shortly. In the water now, representing Wales, in white, Joanne Dennison, and in yellow, Indy Lynch, joined by surfer in red, representing England, Lucy Campbell, who's out in the lead at the minute, but she holds on to a slender lead, just 1.03. Joanne Dennison requires a 5.81 to move into that first position. We know Jo's capable of that. We've seen her post big scores, not just today, but throughout her career. More than capable of it. She'll be looking to get one of those bigger set waves that wraps its way all the way from the outside right through to the inside. With just under 5 minutes remaining. Surfer in yellow, Indy Lynch, has first priority. Surfer in white, Joanne Dennison, has second priority. So the Welsh girls will feel confident in getting at least one more scoring wave apiece. It'll have to be a big one for Indy Lynch. She's looking for a 7.43 to move into second position. That's the advancing position. This not just an individual pursuit today, of course. The team, all competitors competing on behalf of their home nations as well. So they've got somewhat of a team mentality. They got the team managers down on the shore with them, offering them advice and cheering them on. We can see lots of flags about on the beach today as we see a beautiful camera angle there, wrapping from left to right up the point and now back down to the left as set after set winds its way into the bay here. The left-hand side of the bay, the long rights you see on screen now, protected somewhat from this very, very strong westerly wind we're experiencing here. The wind starting off quite favourably this morning as up and riding. That was your surfer in yellow with using her priority to go on that one. Unfortunately, not offering too much in the way of scoring potential, but it means that Joanne Dennison, the surfer in second, in white representing Wales, now has first priority and will be looking to exert and use that priority in order to gain the 5.81 she needs to move into first. So if you've stuck with us all day, you'll notice that the wind has increased steadily throughout the day. We had quite calm conditions here first thing. There was a bit of wind about, but it was certainly not impacting conditions very much. As we went to Twin Peaks, we actually saw some rather clean, groomed conditions over on the left-hand side on the high tide Ledges Peak. That wind has increased throughout the day, and it's certainly increased substantially with the change of tide. Now with about 3 minutes remaining, Tom? Am I looking?
Yeah, 2 minutes.
So 2 minutes remaining. The situation is thus: surfer in yellow, Indy Lynch, represent
First of England.
There we are.
And he commissioned them both to unite the kingdom because he was worried that the English
I think
wouldn't follow him.
I think we've had more than enough of that now. That story,
Yeah.
not the Union.
Just a quick couple of hours of it on loop. But we're back up and running again now,
We hope.
and we're going to be going into the men's shortly. And here we are. We're back. So this is now the elimination round of the men, or the second elimination round now. We have lost a couple. And we've got Craig McLaughlin, Liam Murray Strout and Barnaby Cox. So all of these surfers have now already put together good scores to get where they are. Cox having surfed through the repechage round and putting together a pretty good performance in that repechage round, I might add. I believe all three surfers in this heat are now going to be on their front side, so they're going to be frothing at the opportunity to take on this point break. We've got someone come in. Speaking of kings, we've got someone coming in from the seat of power, Mark Vaughan. He's going to bring us some event updates.
Hey Tom, how you doing?
I'm all right.
Just come in from the light breeze.
Yeah.
It has been whipping the Welsh coastline all day. It's been, I was really hoping it would ease off a little bit, but we have.
But it's picked up.
Yep, the swell's picking up again on the push of the tide, and here we go in red, up and riding. And
McLaughlin.
it's got
Lovely.
a nice, powerful wrap.
Yeah, and then look at that little check turn there to get into the right place. Bottom turn, spray everywhere. coming through to the inside. He's going to get a chance at a closeout turn. Only the wave opens again. And another climb off the foam.
I
He's
tell you
gonna
what,
be well happy with that.
I must say, Tom, I enjoyed watching that. That was speed, power and flow. He really set that one up with a couple of real wallops.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we've got some that, the swell's picking up now with this pushing tide. It's going to be some challenging paddles back. But, I think all in all, everyone's reasonably happy, although I've just spotted a windsurfer making his way out into the lineup.
Oh, he's been there for quite some time,
I see. I haven't been paying that much attention. Okay, he's keeping clear, yeah?
I surfed this place a couple of years ago, and it was probably the biggest I've ever surfed it. And there were some windsurfers in the water, and I was scared to catch a wave when they were on it, and then you told me that you just drop in on them. Now, was that true, or was that a bit of a sort of exaggeration?
No, there was a long-standing kind of, I
agreement.
guess, both parties saw their right to be in the water at the same time, and that's perfectly understandable. So we kind of reached a mutual agreement without actually any sort of meeting that the windsurfers obviously doing laps around and surfing down the right-hand point break there. And they just kind of give way now to the guys on the who are surfing when they paddle. And of course, on a day like today, there's a lot of paddling. People don't catch so many waves. So there's quite a good vibe between the windsurfers, local windsurfers, and the local surfing community. They do give space, and they know if you're up and riding, they'll just sort of glide away and let you surf.
I would have loved to have known that. As
Look
Barnaby Cox gets going here, there's a set behind. Cox takes an insider though. And a nice big smack, raises the tail through that one and looking to do something similar but has to carve. But there will be a closeout section presenting itself here, and meanwhile out back we've got another surf up and riding. So Rob's keeping eyes on what's going on there. Barnaby Cox through to the inside and smacks that one, and really nice closeout turn. And then out back Murray Strout you can see on the wide angle, and there is a windsurfer now looking at a wave behind.
There's also Craig McLaughlin up
right
and riding out the
back
back.
is McLaughlin, and that's a one manoeuvre wave because he's a tiny bit behind it.
No, you managed to actually, Tom. I think then this your commentary comment there just is classic, because you're trying to watch, as the judges are, three guys riding exceptionally long waves at the same time. Craig did actually put a couple of turns at the back from what I saw.
Oh, I saw the end of it,
Yeah, you caught the end. So although he was a little halfway down the point, so a lot of action there, and our judges are going to have a real job separating the scores. Barnaby inside wave,
and that's what we've got. We've got the closeout of Barnaby that we can watch again, so we can see what he did.
Yeah, Barnaby actually, it looked a smaller inside out, but it really held the reef nicely.
Here. So on the rail, pulls it right round. Clever little foam tap, and then it's all about this inside, and that fins up and over, ends that with a flourish, and going on rail earlier on as well. So that was after having done a load of good manoeuvres earlier, and I like pulling it right round there. So great surfing all round. It would be interesting to see what those scores are. McLaughlin's been given a 7.5, but I would wager that was for his first wave. So I think that the wave that I haven't seen, that you and Rob saw the earlier parts of, Mark, is going to...
I from what I saw there, and I don't know what you think, Rob, but I thought that obviously I think Craig's first wave was probably the best wave I've seen just in put together, but he also put a really nice nast.
Yeah, you do.
So look, hopefully we don't see too many runarounds, because it's it puts an interruption to the surfing potentially, but it does put the surfers in a much better position. If it was me and I got a long ride, I will be running around and I will be barefoot, but I'm well used to, as I believe is Mr. Blythe here to my right, who is a well-known local in this part of the world. In fact, his father, if you haven't mentioned this already, is probably one of the pioneers of the left-hand side in the early days, where Llantwit Major was considered a Newport local spot. So Bob Blythe, if you are listening, I am giving you the credit you deserve, along with the Brights, of course, Gwyn and Colin. So gentlemen and lady, Diana, who joins us, once again, it was just a little cameo role appearance. Wish to say hello and give you a little break Well, Tom munches away on his chips from the
Good
Maria
chips.
in the Beach Cafe.
Good chips.
Yes, they've a lot of people have been commenting how nicely they've gone down.
I've finished my account today now. Do we get a fresh ticket tomorrow?
You have a fresh
Oh,
food
I
voucher
knew
tomorrow.
I knew it.
Yeah.
Producer Craig was sparing on it as he was going, I'm rolling it over for tomorrow. I said, Craig, get in there and eat.
Yeah, it's big thank you to Maria in the Beach Cafe for looking after us. So more chips for you tomorrow, Tom.
They're really nice and friendly in there too, aren't they, as well?
It's a good crew. Maria's got plenty of young local staff that assist her in running the Beach Cafe, which it's a private business and has seen more than its share rebuilt after storm. I believe it was the Great Storm, 87, 88, October 87, 88. The Great Storm that hit the southeast of England so badly, but also washed away the existing lifeguard building, and a lot of the Beach Cafe had a lot of damage. High tides here may on occasion give them a wash through, but they built this break wall in about 93, 94 that's in front of us, and has so far served the buildings behind it well. And although it was slightly detrimental to the high tide right-hander that we had, but there we go, up and riding.
Oh, and off. McLaughlin, wastes priority. You saw then the surfer in pink for the next heat struggling their way over the rocks. Camera's now gone away from them, but that was interesting to see. It is a tough little rock dance when you first walk out. I turn my surfboard upside down usually, fins up in the air.
It's the wind makes it more difficult because obviously it's catching your board. The rocks are covered in barnacles. They're really, really sharp. And if you've soft feet from surfing beach breaks, if
you go out there barefoot now, I would say your chances of getting in and out, unless you really take your time, your chances of coming back without having lost a tiny bit of skin on the bottom of your feet are quite slim, really, aren't they?
I mean, I remember a contest here we had years ago, and the runarounds were, it was a summer event, the water was warm, everyone's bare feet, and the runarounds were frequent, and you come away, but in the heat of battle, you boys, you've competed, you'll know, you kind of switch off, and Luke Dillon, I know, has got a really nasty gouge on his foot. I've just been talking to him.
We saw him do it this morning.
Yeah, he's taped it all up, and he's gonna have to wear a wetsuit boot purely to keep that big flap that's skin that's hanging off the bottom of his foot together.
Now this is Barnaby Cox, and he needs a score here. He needs a 5.57. So despite having seen him surf that first wave really well, he's chasing it. But this is actually only his second wave of the heat. So Cox going with that slower approach, carefully choosing his waves, and he has chosen another long one here and getting the two turns on that inside.
Very well.
No claim. That is gonna be a strong candidate for a above 5.57, I would say there. I wouldn't be bold enough to say I think he's definitely done it though. You would you, Rob?
Well, I tell you what, I'm going to sit on the fence a little. I still think Craig McLaughlin's first wave was the best wave.
Oh yeah, it was. So what we're asking is, was that last wave of Barnaby Cox equal to his first? I think no. Was that last wave of Barnaby Cox equal to McLaughlin's second? I also think
at the back we've got surfer in red, Craig McLaughlin up with a bash off the foam and not much after it.
I didn't see McLaughlin's second, so I don't have that point of comparison. But I would say that's not Barnaby Cox's best wave. So
I'm going to put it on. It's going to be close to first of McLaughlin in red.
So you're calling that was Cox's best wave,
yes.
Robbo?
I think he's done more than enough to get into at least
now,
second.
Are you cheating yet? No.
No,
he's not yet, because Rob gets the scores a tiny bit earlier than me. I mean, big closeout Rio, fins lifted up, couple of
I
big
just like the
turns.
way he's put it together. There were moments in
It
that
was
he
put
could have let the
together
wave get away from him, but he.
And it's really hard for
No
judges
turn now and again.
to compare two waves that were so far apart from each other as well. Do you know what? I think we've actually got the replay of the inside of that wave of Cox here. Look, so we can compare what we just saw to this. It's a smaller wave, isn't it? But that is a really dynamic turn there. And then as he came onto this inside section, that inside closeout, there was a real flourish on that.
Yeah, I think most of the damage on that wave was done further out.
It was further out, so I think that wave scored more than the wave of Cox that we just saw. That was only the inside section of that wave. There was 3 good hacks.
I beg your pardon. Was that the earlier wave?
That was the earlier wave.
Ah.
That was the earlier wave. We didn't get a replay for the one that ran just then.
Okay.
So we're looking for 5.57 of the score. The judges are having a big think.
They are.
I think it's really close to there or thereabouts.
We're going to see a big score, I think.
I think
He's going to come off the fence. He's coming off the fence, is he?
Oh, here we go.
He's into first with a 7.0.
Oh, wow. So they put that in above. Okay, 7.0. So my screen updates, your screen, dear viewers at home, is about 45 seconds behind what's popped up on Rob's iPad, and there it is, a 7. So all of that debate.
So 2 of the judges actually gave him a 7.5, with one judge giving him a 6. So 2 of the judges thought it was really good.
I think for me, guys, what I saw on the opening part of that wave was...
It's got to be about the opening, isn't it?
It has, and it was a little bit fat. It did wall up on the inside, and that inside, whilst he really did do some fantastic work, it's softer on that inside, if you know what I mean.
You're talking about the first wave now?
Sorry, the second wave, the one that we just watched.
Yeah, which has
didn't
got
have
a
the
bigger
replay.
score.
It has got a bigger score, understandably, but it's not the highest score in the
So
wave.
it's about the work on the... Go to the ads, and there we go. We'll go to the ads because they didn't catch it. So we come back to the booth here, and Vaughan is getting very excited about the surfing that Craig McLaughlin did there. And now we've got this heat off to a cracking start.
That is
There's
Tom
a
Hook
ride
of the
going
Channel
on
Islands.
off screen there, and that would, for me, he nearly stopped and claimed there.
Or is that
But
yellow?
he's got another inside section to go here. This is Matt Chapman from the Channel
Beg your
Islands.
pardon.
And he's got an inside section. Now, I think he should be doing some work on this, but he isn't.
I think we're seeing a
Barnaby
runaway.
coming out.
Oh, is it Barnaby coming
maybe not.
out? It might be. No, it can't be. He'd be penalised, wouldn't he?
I don't know.
If that was Matt Chapman, I do not understand why, after 3 smashes, which all took place off camera, so I don't have a replay for you, he rode the rest of the wave, kind of, I suppose, what would you call it? You know, he didn't dig in and try and do anything on the inside section, and he would have been watching the previous heats to know that the going rate is that you work the inside over. Riding now, so this heat is underway now. This is Max Bennett, and he's off to a good start as well.
So, you know, Max Bennett, Tom, his surfing reminds me very much of a friend of mine from Cornwall, Mark Bennett. Maybe the surname has a link.
Priority. So Matt Chapman would have had a 3rd priority next to him if that had been him at the start. So that was Barnaby Cox on his feet, riding a wave in between. It's unconventional. It's kind of, surfers are trained not to do that, but Cox,
an unnecessary risk, I would say, Tom.
yeah. And if you'd just been eliminated by him, you'd be thinking about loopholes if you were that way minded, wouldn't you? But easy for us to sit up here in the dry and the warm. It's probably, you can probably explain it away, can't you? You can probably say you didn't know the heat had ended or something like that. But he looked like he knew the heat had ended, didn't he? The way that he rode that inside section.
The way his body language suggested it was someone not surfing a wave. That's the only thing I can say. But,
Yeah.
you know, and if you're coming in at pipeline, sure, you've got to end up and lie down. But that was an unnecessary risk.
But was it before? It was after the horn as well. I seem to recall.
I think he was making his way in.
Yeah, interesting though.
Maybe pumped up after that last wave he had in the heat.
Well, it's no harm done, because they haven't put the score down for yellow. But these are the sorts of interesting things that you know, at a WSL level you could really get in a pickle over. And you know, we've seen Logan in the spring of this year, say. And we got Garrett and Andia going on the right and Viz Carragher on the left. Viz Carragher off the top, Garrett and Andia on the cutback, and it was
very polished. Well done.
Yeah, tough. But so some people, the Welsh names are just as difficult. Now that windsurfer is naughty.
Yes.
Because they're coming in again. You can't see them on the screen. But it's dangerous behaviour with a surfing competition going on in the lineup. And here we go. Easy to pronounce, Tom Hook. Nice long drawn out frontside carve.
Nice. A hook from Hook.
Hook from Hook. And yeah, come across some good surnames to pronounce.
We like his surname.
Had to pronounce South African surname once that was spelt Cengo. How do you think you pronounce that?
Chengo?
Nope. It's a Zulu name.
You've
got to do a click. Engo.
Ingo.
Engo.
I like it.
Yeah.
Update on the situation as it stands. How many minutes remaining this one, Tom?
We've got 12 minutes and 20 seconds
12
remaining.
minutes and 20 seconds remaining. And our surfer in white, Tom Hook, is currently in third position. He's sitting on only one wave, though, at 2.33 with a score still to drop. He's looking for a 0.61 to move into that second position and advance through, and he certainly has it. A 4.83 being posted for that last wave, meaning he is now in first position. So out in first is Tom Hook, surfer in white, representing the Channel Islands. Currently in second position, the surfer in red, also representing the Channel Islands, Max Bennett, looking for a 1.33 to move in back into first. He, of course, is only sitting on one wave at 5.83. And currently in third position, the surfer in yellow, also of the Channel Islands, Matt Chapman, the stylish goofy foot, currently sitting on a 0.77 and a 2.17, meaning that he's looking for a 3.67 to move into second position. Loads of time remaining and all to play for. The surfers, of course, battling it out for that semi-final berth. And Tom, I've been hand-delivered a series of sheets here. I've got
you got Timmy's.
I've got
refresher.
not only have I got the progression.
We got a ride though, Matt Chapman.
You call it
Matt, aka Matt Mayola, and here he goes. And he's going to be looking. I love the way he drags that back arm, and that's a really lovely, stylish surfing.
Lovely drawn out
in and out
turn.
of the lip, and then gets hung up by there.
So not only do I have the heat progression, and my goodness, we've got two phenomenal semi-finals coming up in the women's division. But I also
do tell me about it.
I will tell you about it. But I also
going to run the replay of Matt Mayola as you talk. Go on.
I also have the statistics. The statistics for the surfing that's taken place thus far are on my desk, Tom. And this is current at about 15 minutes ago. We have had 451 waves scored today.
That's a bit of surfing gone down.
A little bit of surfing. The highest wave was posted by Lucy Campbell in heat number 4.
Oh, we called that when we knew it was going to be, didn't we?
It was a 9.17. The best
three big manoeuvres.
3 big manoeuvres, and the best combination
Backhand.
of the day up until 20 minutes ago was Luke Dillon in heat 3 of round 1, and with the situation that occurred there, Tom, Matt Chapman did better
that backhand of Chapman's, it needs a little bit of space, doesn't it? He needs a bit of space on his backhand to get moving. He needs some open face. He's going to have to decide, really, how long he waits now in potentially deteriorating conditions to see if he can do it. So Max Bennett done the work to get himself into that second, only to blow priority. Will he get away with it? And that'll be down to Chapman. He may look at this, Chapman might, and is going to. So this is it. This could well be that, and he's got the. Here we go. 2 Welsh and 1 English in this heat. And will the local advantage pay? We count down to the start of this heat. Luke Dillon, Nathan Phillips, Craig Bright. This is a stacked one. And it's going to be now in the last surfer to land 2 Land-to-It locals in the left hand, in the right hand point that they call a left, together at the same time, was dispatched because it was Mark Vaughan and Craig Bright. They both did very well. Craig Bright ripping in his last heat. There's just a slight delay before this one starts. Now in Nathan Phillips and Craig Bright, we'll likely see a real demo of how to surf this wave on the backhand. We did see some very good surfing from the Jersey surfer in the last heat on the backhand. And Luke Dillon who's going to have to apply everything he's learned to the wave. Now, we do know one thing, that Dillon, he did cut his foot quite badly this morning. We were talking about when he walked down across the rocks, and has had to have it quite heavily strapped up, and is surfing in a boot, as Vaughan was telling us earlier. And whether or not that alters his ability to weight transfer between the 2 feet will remain to be seen. We've got producer Diana is back in with us. So that's Craig Bright. He's just having a wiggle around before the heat starts. Or is the heat underway? The heat is now underway, yeah. So that is actually a score for Craig Bright. Yeah, producer Diana is with us. I know you're not fantastic keen on jumping on the mic, Diana, but I was just going to ask you how you are with your Basque words. Do you speak a lot of Basque? The microphone is on the end of that red wire over there. So, producer Diana.
Hi.
Bienvenidos.
Gracias. Diolch yn fawr.
Oh, okay, good Welsh. Good accent on the Welsh there as well, Diana.
Can do the diolch.
Yeah, and we've missed Nathan Phillips picking up a 3.67 at some point there amongst the so Nathan Phillips and Craig Bright off to a start. Yeah, I was going to say, how's your Basque?
No, I don't understand Basque or anything like that. I think it's older than Latin, so they don't know where is originary, where is coming from.
It's unknown, isn't it?
And very, and it's older language than Latin, so not a lot of people. Well, some people, can speak it.
And for a European language, that's also quite unusual.
Yes.
To not know the origin or not be able to trace.
Exactly.
The origin of the language, because its greatest similarities are to some of the Eastern European languages. So we got the results in for the last heat there, and it was just interesting to see Matt Chapman with those decent scores, a 5.77, and still going out. And in this one now, it was actually Nathan Phillips who started off, so we did see Nathan Phillips' wave. And Nathan Phillips was Nathan Phillips at the start there, with what looked like an in and out, but we saw the tail end of it, and it was actually a 3.67, which is a reasonable enough start. Luke Dillon then in the red, and Craig Bright, they're both waiting. Now, that's interesting, because I thought that Craig Bright, who'd been relatively patient in his last 2 heats and picked off best waves and used priority very well, had gone a little early and used up, got his first ride in on a pretty short wave, but it was actually Phillips who'd done that. Now, they have different approaches to their heats, and it'd be interesting to see if Phillips is deliberately hoping to get moving quickly. And we can see here all 3 surfers now fighting the rip, which will be up and starting to really grow in power now. And there is a set coming through as well, and the set is going to be, with this wind, we're going to start to get some of these outswingers, so it is going to become very difficult to make sure that you get onto the right wave. Priority very important, and I think when you get priority now, I think waiting with priority to make sure. So we're going to see Nathan Phillips go again, so a completely different approach. Phillips now is going to have both scores in, but he's going to have to wait for both Dillon and Bright to ride waves before he can start to use priority. But you get 2 waves before the other guys have even stood up. It's going to have its advantages, because what you do ensure is that both those other surfers must now ride a wave. And with 14 minutes remaining, they can't wait forever. And so if either of those surfers does then ride a wave, Phillips jumps up the priority order until he's sitting in priority. And I would imagine a surfer with his level of experience, once in priority, would then likely not be anywhere near as busy and would be rather selective, especially with a bit of local knowledge over what kind of wave to go on. That said, not catching waves out here at this stage of the tide is actually quite tiring, because you've got to keep treading water against the rip. So in a way, if you go surfing here free surfing, Dillon is way outside, and I think he's paddling for a bit of white water. He is way outside, which could pay off. Interesting to see, though. I'm not sure how much surfing Luke Dillon has done at this spot. Yeah, so you've got to tread water. If you're free surfing here, you actually use less energy to keep catching waves. You jump in the water at the top and you catch one as quickly as you can, and then you walk back up the point, and that's actually less tiring than staying in the water, treading water. And the longer you go without a wave, the shorter your stamina becomes. And so you see now all three surfers, they're paddling against that rip, trying to stay in place. You even saw a plume of spray off as Phillips took a paddle stroke that inadvertently punched a piece of a little lump of water in front of him, and now going far too deep on this one, Craig Bright. And so that moves Phillips one up the priority. So he'll go from third priority to second. Craig Bright will go into third priority. A 2.57 for the last of Phillips. The wave of Bright will be a throwaway, a 0.5. And so Dillon yet to catch a wave, but Phillips now can start to be a bit selective. He knows that he's got to try and get only waves that are going to top what he's already got. So I would say that Phillips is in a pretty decent launching position for a reasonably solid heat performance in here right now. So Rob Blythe is joining us.
I've been on the roof, Tom.
Have you seen the opening exchanges to this heat, Rob?
I have.
So Nathan Phillips, clever, got moving quickly, 2 waves in the bank before the other guys have even stood up, and now they must, of course, catch a wave, which will then leave Nate with priority. So
well, I spoke to Nate after his first round performance,
right,
and as I said to you, he said he was feeling a little weirdly nervous, which is quite uncharacteristic for him. You know, he surfed an awful lot of heats in his long and fruitful career, no less. And he said, yeah, he was weirdly nervous this morning, and he wished he'd made a bit of a quicker start instead of waiting to the last 2 minutes to post that score that eventually got him through. As we see up and riding out the back, this is surfer in red from Cornwall, Luke Dillon.
He's waited 9 minutes for this.
He's hopping about. He's hoping this one's going to reform on the inside. So, Tom, I suspect at this stage of tide, as well as it moves ever nearer the pool.
Oh, he gives up on that. Could have still had a manoeuvre.
I think that local knowledge is going to be very, very valuable at this business end.
You're
of
exactly
round
right.
3.
Here goes Phillips using that priority now.
Oh,
biggest
huge.
fan.
Huge turn. That's one of my favourite turns of the day.
He's working his way through the inside section. And he's going to have a reform. So Luke Dillon with the front row tickets for a show he does not want to see. And here goes Phillips onto the inside. Yeah, you're right. There was a big...
I love that turn at the back. Really long-limbed turn.
And Craig Bright is up and going behind. So Luke Dillon, having waited 9 minutes, has waited 9 minutes to lose priority. And then watch the Lantrit surfers both post scores. We might get a paddle battle between Craig Bright and Luke Dillon here. Dillon's probably going to have the edge. Especially since Luke Dillon is a professional surfer who has just come back from California, where he was probably paddling all day. And Craig Bright is a
design technology teacher.
Design and technology teacher, yeah. A DT teacher in either St. Richard Gwyn or Radicomp. I'm trying to remember which of the two it is. I think it's St. Richard Gwyn, isn't it?
I'm not sure.
I think it's St. Richard Gwyn. I got a replay of that turn of Nate's, Rob. Talk about it.
Let me get over here.
Talk about it. Here it comes. In a moment. Here it is.
I love that. Really put that, Tom. That goes. It's the perfect illustration of what we talked about earlier with the Brad Gerlach School of Power, timed to perfection, displacing so much water with minimal effort, really.
Yeah, I agree. A 6-point ride. So Dillon did still manage to get 3.57, which turned out to be more than Craig Bright got. So now we see Logan down there. He has put a pair of old shoes on to walk down the point. And look at how comfortably he's doing it. Now, I don't know that he then plans to give those shoes to someone in case there's a run around. Or has he already? I can't quite tell.
No,
there.
he's walking too easily, isn't he?
I don't know. He's a good rock dancer, Logan is. I don't know.
I'd say he's still got them on because he's not even looking at the rocks. He's walking in with head up.
If he how is he going to get them to the point where you'd come in for the runaround? Unless you send another person to that point.
I suspect he's not going to do the runaround.
And what's he going to do? Just leave the shoes
Yeah,
there for the tide to
I
take?
reckon. No, I think good point.
I'm sure that
Who's
whoever
is on the end of the point, I suppose.
Oh, look at these waves rolling down the point here. Now
I think we're set for a nice 40 minutes to 60 minutes of surfing ahead of us. Tom, right until dark is the call from contest control, and I've been privy to the competitors' WhatsApp.
Oh yeah.
And the call from contest control is that they're going to do everything in their power to run both women's semi-finals this evening. However, they are alerting those competitors, the competitors in those semi-finals, to stand by because they are worried about the light.
Right, I see. Interesting. I mean, the stacked heats, those two semi-finals, and they are great conditions for it. And tomorrow we've got a little bit of mixed weather to come through, haven't we? And I think we did have a surf forecast somewhere. A surf forecast that we could bring up. I'm not quite sure where it is.
Last of white, Nathan Phillips, for that turn that we've talked about, came in at a 6.0. So that means Nathan is well out in front now, sitting on a combination of 9.67, meaning that Luke Dillon, surfer in red, needs a 6.10.
There is the surf forecast.
To move into first, and Craig Bright is looking for a 0.75 to move into second.
That's today's surf forecast. So I think tomorrow's surf forecast. I'm not sure if we've got that one yet.
Well, I would ask Jamie to do it, but he's up in the booth judging.
He is.
At the mo.
Producer Diana is telling me that that's a work in progress, tomorrow's surf forecast. But we will have it.
Up and riding at the back, Tom. It's Luke Dillon. He's currently in second. He's looking for a 6.10 to move into first. This wave standing up a bit more than his first one did, and it might be one of those ones that hugs the inside of the reef there and reforms as we see him. He's going to have to put the
speed
foot to the gas to get around this section. Smashes that oncoming section and finds the open face once again. Now, the wave here tends to go a little bit fat before reforming on the inside, but Luke finds a lovely section to put his fins through the back of that wave, a roundhouse wrap, and comes undone on the whitewater.
Yeah, still a lot of work for Craig Bright to do now, though, because Dillon is going to post a decent score on that. And here goes Craig Bright. So this is Nathan Phillips. So Nate's going to reply, and he gets a little bit hung up. There's going to need to be a little bit of work done to get anything out the inside. Nate ejects. Decides to head up the point. And so I'm calling Luke Dillon probably gets the wave of the heat there, don't you think, Rob?
I think
no. I think that goes in above the 6 of
really?
Phillips.
Okay.
Well, length of ride. Yeah, what was that first manoeuvre like? It's close, yeah. And here goes Craig Bright. Now, this one's really hugging the point nicely. It's a 4.17 for Luke
That is
Dillon.
a lovely wave, Tom.
No, for the last of Nathan. Craig Bright is on. This is the best shaped wave of the heat. And Bright, knowing the surf spot,
You're spot on,
takes it
Tom.
for pretty much what he could. And we apologise as the storm blows in for any troubles that you may have gained with picking up the stream. We're gonna just run another ad. We try and work out what's going on. So I'm told we have got the stream up and running again. And so this is the last heat of the day now, and it's pretty stacked. Stanley Norman, Logan Nicol and Mark Vaughan. Rob, I think it's safe to say, just on form, before we even start to talk about things like age, I think it's safe to say Mark Vaughan has got his work cut out here.
I think he's in with every chance, actually, Tom. He's got local knowledge on his side,
And
years and years of local knowledge.
And I was then about to devil's advocate the exact same thing by saying that it would also be safe to say that Stanley Norman has got his work cut out, because he is in with two guys who know this wave very, very, very well. And he's off to the worst possible start there by jumping down into third priority with an unsuccessful paddle. Logan then is up and riding on one. He's going to have to really work to get an inside connection. Doesn't get one. And Vaughan on the one behind. There was a first lip hit on that. And then Vaughan coming through is going to look for a reform. And does just about find one. Stan Norman, meanwhile, is up and moving and going pretty fast on the one behind. And a big frontside snap. And then goes into a frontside carve, and then starts to do a little bit of work going onto the reform section. So I would say, though, that Stan Norman, despite having a poor start in giving away and jumping down into third priority, I would say that both the waves of Logan and Vaughan that followed would be the sort of wave they believe they can do better than. And then we've got Stan Norman, and we can see that he did a really nice frontside gouge. Now this was his third turn, or actually no, we've got his first turn there and second turn. That was second and third turn, but that third turn there, that frontside snap, a big manoeuvre. And so I would imagine we're going to see a decent first score drop for Stanley Norman. We're going to see a moderate first score drop for Logan Nicol, and I'm not quite sure what the judges will do with Vaughan, because it was a big first manoeuvre, but I only saw it with eyeball from some distance away, so I don't have a camera comparison to be able
Interesting to see, Tom, as scores do come in, and you can hear them probably on the beach mic as well. It's a 5.0 for Surfer in red, Stanley Norman, a 3.0 for Surfer in white, Logan Nicol, and a 4.17 for Surfer in yellow, Mark Vaughan. Now, Tom,
that's about right, I'd say, because as I said, I couldn't see Mark Vaughan's manoeuvre very well because it was eyeball only and from a distance, but it did look like one big turn.
Tom, earlier on we talked about some scores in other sports whilst we had a break in the action, and we've got a little break in the action now. I've got confirmation of the result in the Clash of the Titans, Pontier AFC versus Crickhowell AFC.
I reckon Crickhowell took it.
It was an absolute drubbing.
Really?
7-0 Pontier.
Wow.
Dan James getting 2.
The Dan James?
Not the Dan James. Well, the Dan James, but not the Dan James.
I get you.
There was an own goal as well. And then the rest of the goals spread pretty fairly amongst the squad. So, Llongfachiadau, congratulations to Pontier AFC. I know they're listening in the clubhouse this evening, watching live on the YouTube.
Llongfachiadau, AFC Pontier, da iawn.
And during the Boardmasters, we called out the results of Pontier cricket. And there's a mutual player in both games.
Really?
The mighty Tom Jarvis.
Tom Jarvis. The Tom Jarvis.
The Jarv.
Wow.
Ye of
so
Jarv
they've got
fame.
the Dan James and the Tom Jarvis.
They sure do.
And I tell you the other result. Now, this is a little bit Welsh-centric. I know we did read Arsenal and Tottenham out earlier, but the other result that some of our Welsh followers will get very excited about. In fact, worldwide followers now, American and Canadian followers too, after the hit Disney Plus documentary.
Oh, you're Wrexham.
Wrexham. Away to Oldham. And they are leading. Well, they've won. 2-1. So a Paul Mullin winner. Paul Mullin is Wrexham's striker that they all love. He's their top striker. 90 plus 5.
Oof.
I know a guy who went to that game, and I think he'll be pretty happy.
They're top of the league, aren't they?
They should. I don't know.
They won 6-0 last week.
Depends if
didn't they?
Chesterfield won, because Chesterfield did beat Wrexham very early on. So I don't know. I think Chesterfield might well still be top of the league. It depends if Chesterfield won. So if you look up the Chesterfield result, you'll know how Wrexham are doing. Let's have a look. Chesterfield lost today. Wrexham have gone top of the league. So yeah, they'll be very happy with that. My mate Chris, who I go to watch Wales football with, he and I have stood together for years, or sat together for years. Nowadays, sit, isn't it? He's a diehard Wrexham fan. I went up to Wrexham with him actually to that stadium to watch us play.
Racecourse, isn't it?
To the racecourse, I went and watched us play. We drove up and back in a night. It was pretty grueling. We played Trinidad and Tobago in a friendly. It was a really nice atmosphere, really good, great stadium. So, Pontier, yeah, victories there then for Arsenal in the North London derby.
Ooh, I also hear that there's a
Mark
bit
Vaughan in the Battle of the Marks.
There's a thriller elsewhere in the Premiership as well. The Liverpool.
Don't tell me. I want to watch it on Match of the Day.
Well, it was a thriller.
Was it? Will it be first on Match of the Day?
Yeah, I would imagine so.
Because I normally fall asleep halfway through the first game on Match of the Day.
It looked like a good one.
Yeah. Or leave it. Let me find out on Match of the. Well, I won't find out. I'll watch half of it on Match of the Day and fall asleep normally. So situation here now. Nickel. So after that initial one-wave exchange, everyone's being very cagey in this one. And this is the last heat of the day now with the deteriorating light. And here goes Mark Vaughan. And he will be... Well, he had third priority anyway at the time of paddling for that. So it didn't matter. So he can fool around and go for things. But he doesn't want to lose line-up position. That then means that if either of the other two ride a wave, you're then out of place. But Vaughan knows what he's doing in this lineup.
And that quick up and down from Mark Vaughan now means he has gone into first position, Tom.
Yeah.
Only just.
No, but it has an advantage because it means that the other guys must stand up.
And here we have the other guys. This is surfer in white, Logan Nickel.
Nice
Powerful
first
wrap back into the white water. And he's going to look to move this one to the inside, wrapping back to the white water once again. This wave could catch up with the one in front and offer Logan a bit of a double if he chooses to stick with it, which it looks like he might be doing.
Up behind Stanley Norman.
So Logan's working through to the inside. Out the back, surfer in red, Stanley Norman jamming 3 turns really nicely together. And his wave is standing up a bit more than Logan's did, which will allow him that extra bit of scoring potential as he rebounds off the white water at the end of that wave. I think that Stanley Norman will be moving back into first position. But we could see Logan Nickel moving up into second.
Here's Logan's first couple of
We'll see
maneuvers.
what the judges think about it.
And now the trouble is we don't have Stanley's first couple of maneuvers because they were off screen. Because the two surfers were up and riding at the same time.
I think he finished the wave more strongly than he started it.
Stanley?
Yes.
Interesting. He'll he did a big claim, didn't he?
Last wave for red, a 7.0.
Yeah, there we go. A 7.0 for Norman.
So it's as predicted. Stanley Norman goes back into first, but Logan Nickel jumps into second, which means Mark Vaughan, surfer in yellow, with first priority, is now in third position. Mark's looking for just a 3.51 to move up into second and qualify for those all-important semi-finals, Tom.
4.67 for Logan then. Yeah, interesting. It's a big difference they've given them between those two waves of Stanley and
Yeah,
Logan.
I think the difference for that end section, it allowed Stanley to bounce off that foam at the end, whereas Logan's wave kind of fizzled out. Wave selection all important out here.
So again, as we said though, Logan, we're shown there that the judges, they don't mind you backloading your risk or your commitment into your rides here. They are happy to dish out points for what you do at the end of a ride here. Because I suppose when that kind of initial shift was made by judging across the world towards the pressure and emphasis going into those first manoeuvres, there probably was ever so slightly too much of an emphasis shift onto first manoeuvres, wasn't there? I remember seeing
the halo.
Yeah, I remember seeing a one heat in particular once where there was a surfer. I'll leave the names out of this one actually because it was controversial. But
I think I know the heat you're going to say.
there was a surfer on the inside catching like 2-foot waves and doing a first manoeuvre straight away right in the lip, and basically doing top to bottom surfing on like 1.5 foot, 2-foot waves. And then there was another surfer outside on like 4-foot waves, gunning along open face a bit and then doing a couple of manoeuvres and doing cutbacks and things like that. And I remember watching that heat, and it felt to me like kind of peak absurdity of that change. It was very freshly after the what was it, a protocol, was it an edict, whatever it was, a directive had been issued, and it was patently the wrong result. But on paper, and it was because they had kept the final words of the statement at that point. Now, do you remember in the 90s? And this was the one, I learned it off by heart at the same time as I learned the Lord's Prayer and to be or not to be. The surfer who takes off on the largest and or best waves and does the most radical controlled manoeuvres for the longest functional distance shall be deemed the winner. And this was the problem, was it still had that statement on the end, shall be deemed the winner. And so if you looked at the letter of the law, what you had in front of you was a surfer who'd done one type of surfing on a smaller wave, shall be deemed the winner. And you had a surfer who'd done a different type of surfing, judged to be one notch down on a bigger wave. And I think there's less of that nowadays, isn't there? And as you can see, Stanley Norman quite rightly doing a lot of very good surfing late on that wave, backloading his good surfing, and being rewarded with the wave of the heat.
I suspect we're about to see some action, Tom, because we've got a set approaching the lineup. It's surfer in yellow, Mark Vaughan with first priority. Will he take a look at any of these? I suspect he will. We've just been joined in the booth, Tom.
I don't know. Is he going to speak?
I think. Well, I've got a question to ask him actually.
Let's see.
I mentioned this to Vaughan earlier. Whilst you were busy commentating.
This is the actual Prince of Wales now.
Herbie.
This is the one we will have a bridge named after this guy.
Whilst you were busy commentating earlier, Herbie attended a medical emergency. A young lad had grazed his foot and had asked, he said, "Are you Hugh John?" And he said, "Yes." And he said, "I've cut my foot." And Herbie crouched down, got really close to the cut, the graze, took a bit of skin off, really close, eyeballed it before delivering.
Oh, Norman's going left. He's doing what he did at Thurso. He's going to go for the backside rotation. Doesn't quite. That was the Thurso final all over again then for a second.
So Herbie assessed the wound.
Let's just have a look at how close he was to landing that thing. Here we go. I mean, that is what happened in the final of the British last year, isn't it? And here we go. Yeah, a bit off landing still, a bit off. But he's got that in him. Sorry.
It's okay. And
more important matters. Yes, the Prince of Wales is in the building.
He assessed the graze before looking up at the poor lad and delivering the bombshell news that he had 10 minutes to live.
Oh.
Did he live?
He did.
Thank goodness for that. Bless his heart.
Yeah, what's your take on the day's action then, Herbie? You've enjoyed what you've been seeing?
9 minutes. He lived for another 9 minutes. Okay.
Enjoyed what you've been seeing today, Herbie?
Yeah, it's been pretty good. Look, it's hard work by all, especially you people in here, believe it or not. People think you just sit here drinking coffee in a nice warm cabin while everybody else is out in the elements working hard. But no, it's a great wave. It's one of the jewels in the crown in Wales. It's probably on its day one of the best right-handers in Wales.
Yeah.
But
it's not that
challenging
far
because of the tide,
today.
Tom. That's the problem, and we know it. We're used to it, etc. And it must be quite daunting for some people who've not surfed here before.
Oh, Mark Vaughan, late takeoff, stuck behind the whitewater. He's going to run out of energy on this one. He's going to persist, I think, actually, and hope for an inside reform. He might get it. He doesn't need a lot here. He's 3.51.
Local knowledge.
Not impossible. Not impossible. He will need a manoeuvre. And he gets it, and he sticks that, and now he's going to go on the front side. He'll get the score here. So what do I know? He was saying that he was in a bit, saying that he's got it wrong. And that wave is all about what he does on the inside there. The camera whizzes back up the point, and that is because Logan Nicol is up and riding. So just as Vaughan, and great surfing from Logan there. just as Vorney needed a score.
One at the back, Stanley Norman takes to the air, big fin high waft there. So Vorney has bodyboarded
Hang
in.
on, we've lost Herbie. Yeah, he's going.
Vorney's
we were
bodyboarded in,
just
Tom.
breaking for the action there.
And I'm going to put my stopwatch on.
Vorney's going to go for the runaround.
Vorney promised us the runaround, and he said he didn't care if his feet got cut. So I'm going to put the stopwatch on as soon as he hits land.
And see how long it takes.
Yes.
He'll get another wave. 3 minutes 40.
So
He'll get another
he's
wave.
in knee-deep water.
Herbie, what's your take then? We're gonna watch a little replay of Mark Vaughan's work on the inside section. You already said local knowledge. What's your take on this, Herbie?
Well, classic Mark Vaughan, born and bred in the place, and he's just looking for that extra. I don't know, 0.5, whatever it would be.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the nature of the man. He's very competitive.
And he's ended up a little bit further behind the curve, behind the 8 ball on that one there, though. He got a 5 for it, but Logan bounced straight back with a 6.5. So now he needs a 6.18. Yeah, so here again tomorrow, Herb?
Yeah, I'll be down here. We're starting again. We're meeting at about 6:30. First heat in the water at 7.
Yeah.
Yeah, back to where we were. I mean, one of the other challenging things about this break is exit and egress from water, you know.
Yeah.
And this is where the local boys should have an advantage because they're used to doing it.
That we should. He's going to come into view. No, in fact, the camera is right at the top of the point, so you can't see this. And a clever move. He is running through the pool, but he is going. He's running. When was the last time you ran across those rocks, Herb?
I don't think it was this month, or last month, I should say. So we're in October now.
You had a good summer. Surf much?
Yeah, it's been pretty good. We didn't have a huge amount of surf on this coast.
Yeah.
But the weather was glorious. But yeah, not too bad.
Last time I saw you, I think, was out at the point.
Yeah, that was a wave.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, light is fading a little bit here. Vorney, we've both predicted he's going to get back into the lineup. He's slowed down a lot now.
The pool's been breached as well.
The pool has just been breached, you're right. So Vorney is only an inch or two to the side of your screen. There he is.
90 seconds remaining.
90 seconds. Well, he's going to try. He is putting his leash back on, and he is going to try.
Second place is right.
It's doable. Thank you very much,
Cheers,
Herbie.
Herb.
Good to have you in here. Thanks. Herbie's off. Well, we'll have to find out whether Vorney did cut his feet on that run. He did exactly what he promised he was going to do.
2 minutes 10 seconds, Tom.
Yeah, 2 minutes 10 seconds to be back to knee deep, but he's got a minute. You can't catch a wave. There's a strong rip. You've got to jump. You have to jump into the rip, don't you? Which is what he's doing. And then you have to let the rip take you out sideways, and you come to the inside section. He needs a 6.18, and he'll know that he needs a 6.18. So we mustn't speak too irreverently of what's happening here. If he is able to get his head down and paddle through that whitewater, Logan, meanwhile, is going to try and see if he can increase the requirement for Vorney. And he's going to be going some towards doing that, I think, here. He needs to replace a 4.67. There is Vorney with 20 seconds remaining. Again, front row tickets to a show he doesn't want to see. And that show is the Logan Nichols show. And I think Logan will push the 4.67 up here. So I would imagine that's going to leave Vorney needing something. There's 10 seconds left. I'd love to see Vorney stand up on a wave just to prove that he was able to do the runaround. I think we can count that as Vorney still in the lineup. So he made it back into the lineup, didn't he? In the 3 minutes and 40. And he'll at least, as long as his feet aren't too cut, to Stan Norman, I think this wave will count. Although he doesn't do anything on it. It will allow Vorney, at least, if his feet aren't too cut, the pleasure of standing up on a wave as he rides in to celebrate his elimination from this event. And it would be nice if the stream's going to let us see it. I don't know if it is, because I think people are pretty keen to get packed up and go and find their beds. But we are going to see the last ride of. No, that is Stan
Logan
Norman.
did push the.
He did.
his lower score out.
Stan Norman coming in. There's a dry goch and a gwint. The red dragon in the wind. Vorney is Mayen Koll ar Môr. He is lost at sea. But there is a really good looking set running down the point here, actually. And there's a dry goch and a gwint. Craig Burrows, a couple of the event organisers.
I think we'll bid our farewells here, Tom.
I think we will. I don't think the camera's going to show us if Vorney catches a wave in on his feet with his possibly cut
Beth
feet or
on
not.
screen there, Vorney's better half.
That's Mrs. Vaughan, laughing and chatting to Emily Williams and Craig Burrows, and no sign. Koll ar Môr.
A big thank you, diolch yn fawr iawn to everybody that's tuned in today and stuck with us through the gremlins in the system. A few confusing moments throughout the day, but we got there in the end. So a massive thank you for sticking with us. A big thanks to everybody that's helped put on the event, and of course all of our competitors today for all the action. We'll be back in the morning at 7 a.m. for heat number 1. It'll be women's semi-finals, I believe.
It will.
We will wait to see that though, but it's looking that way.
Edrych ymlaen, looking forward. A ddiolch am edrych, pawb. Thanks for watching, everyone. Gwelwch chi yn y bore. See you tomorrow.